No, anybody?
Yep, see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. What our cycle is trying to tell us. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to bust some myths. We're going to share some truths and some tips, see what this really looks like. Because I think some of these things we've heard all of our lives and we just accepted it as truth, and not everything that we're told. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, not everything that we find on Google is true. Did you guys know that? So just because we Google it doesn't mean it's so. All right. So the biggest myth of all, I think, as we're starting tonight, is that PMS, cramping, those kinds of things are normal. And they're not. They're common, but they are not normal. So the really good news is that we are going to talk tonight about some things that we can do, that if these are our norm, if they are something that we are experiencing, we're going to talk about some things that we can do about that. So our menstrual cycle is like this built-in health report, and it gives us clues about our body's overall well-being. So it's not just about tracking our periods. Our cycle reflects everything from our hormonal balance to our stress level, to our diet, to health style choices, that how those are all affecting us. So if we start paying attention, it can help us to feel more in tune with our body and to take charge of our health naturally. So our cycle reflects our health in that irregular periods, heavy bleeding, unusual symptoms can all be signals that there are hormonal imbalances occurring, or other issues like extreme stress and even thyroid problems. So, if we understand our fertility, whether we're trying to conceive or we're trying to prevent pregnancy naturally, tracking our cycle helps us to know when we're the most fertile by identifying when we're ovulating. Now, also managing PMS and any other symptoms that we might be experiencing throughout our cycle is really important. So if we find patterns of, say, mood swings or cravings or low energy, then it can help. Then we know that there's something going on, right? It's not normal. And we can find ways to support the body so that we can alleviate those symptoms, bringing back hormonal balances by treating whatever those underlying causes are that are creating all the symptoms of PMS or whatever it might be, and just being in sync with our body. So every phase of our cycle has different needs. I don't know. Anybody know that? Um, there for so many years, I was so ignorant. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of things. I didn't, if my body functioned, it's kind of like you get in the car and you turn it on and it goes and gets you where you need to go, even if it makes some funny noises or things like that. As long as it got me where I wanted to go, like I didn't pay a lot of attention. And sometimes that's what we do to our bodies, myself included. So there are times where we're gonna need more energy for those intense workouts, if it's during ovulation, or we're gonna need to be a little more gentle on things right before we start our cycle. So by watching and keeping track, we'll know how to live in harmony with the natural rhythm of our body. So what does a healthy cycle look like? Like, what does that even look like? So first of all, it's a regularly occurring period that comes about every 28 days. Typically, it's about 4 days of bleeding in which we would actually soak a tampon, a pad, or a menstrual cup every 4-ish hours. Not a lot more, not a lot less. Okay. But there's no cramping, there's no spotting, none of that kind of thing. And if we're tracking our ovulation, then we should be ovulating around the cycle day 14. So right in the middle. Um, and if we are really paying attention, we'll notice that stretchy, that egg whitish cervical fluid right on or before we begin ovulating, but no PMS symptoms until the next cycle starts. Okay. That's what a normal cycle should look like. Now, the type. the amount and the time of bleeding during her cycle can tell us a lot of information about our health overall. So it's actually a reflection of how our hormones, our uterus, and even our lifestyle choices are working together or not. So here's what our bleeding might be saying. So if it's bright cranberry red, it's usually the sign of a healthy, regular period. That's what we're looking for. If it's pinkish, that's a typical indication that our estrogen levels are low, especially when our blood flow is lighter than normal for us, right? And that can look like poor nutrition, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or even perimenopause. Now, diluted or watery looking is a definite sign of nutritional deficiency, especially like a severe anemia situation. Dark brown, if it's not all the time, then that could just be older bits of uterine blood and lining that have oxidized but have just not been flushed out yet. And so it's now being flushed. Then if it's jam colored, red with like large clots, of course those clots aren't normal. That's a sign that our progesterone is too low and our estrogen is too high. So those clots are a sign of severe hormonal imbalance, possibly even uterine fibroids. And they are thought, which even though those fibroids are often benign, it's still not healthy. It's still a sign that things are not functioning the way they should. Now, after the birth of my second child, I experienced that. I experienced heavy bleeding, heavy, big, thick clots, not to be too, TMI, but this is real. And we need to know, we need to talk about these things so we can make it normal in our conversation, because women are not often informed about what's going on with their body. And we don't always know when we should be taking further action or not. And when I went to my gynecologist and I talked to her about it, she said, "Oh, your hormones are probably out of balance a little bit. If that doesn't stop, then you'll just need a hysterectomy." I'm like, what? I go from hormones are out of balance a little bit to a hysterectomy in like the same sentence. No, that's not okay. So this continued, and I continued to go back to her because that never happened to me before. And I really was at a loss. I just had no idea what to do. And she then told me, she said, "Well, we need to get you scheduled for a hysterectomy." And I was like, no, I'm 33 and that's not going to happen. This wasn't this way before, and I'm going to figure out a way to get it better. And I just started my journey of trying to sort through hormones, and hormones are like a spider web. Did you guys ever notice that? Like it's a little confusing. And still today, there's sometimes I step back and go, oh, okay, interesting. But anyway, so if we see a big change in the pattern that we have been, what's normal for us, and we talked about what's normal, right? If we've got a lot of pain, things like that, then we need to pay attention to that, because our body is trying to get our attention and tell us something is going on and it needs some help. So let's talk about PMS for just a minute. PMS really should be a four-letter word, right? Anybody that's ever suffered from PMS, I'm sure you're going to agree with me. Out with PMS. Nobody wants that. So premenstrual syndrome, which is what PMS stands for, it's really a cluster of symptoms that it can occur from ovulation, usually which is about 2 weeks after our period, right? And until that time when our period starts again. So it's in that 2 week period of time. And it can involve things like breast tenderness, bloating, constipation or diarrhea, even mood changes, just irritability, migraines, fatigue, cravings, anxiety, insomnia. All of these things are related to the body's response to our hormones fluctuating. So I want you to think of PMS like a monthly stress test on your body, and pay attention to that, because again, just because it's common does not mean that it's normal. So each of those PMS symptoms and their severity gives us information on how our body systems are responding to the additional stress of those hormonal fluctuations that come with the second half of our cycle. Now, during the end of the cycle, our body goes, it really does some heavy lifting at that point to break down those extra hormones that are floating around now in our bloodstream. So, if everything is working ideally, these hormones are processed by the liver clearly and efficiently, and that results in us being PMS free. So that means our liver is key to PMS. That news to anyone? Let's talk about the liver for a minute. So, the liver actually plays a crucial role in managing those symptoms of PMS because it's responsible for metabolizing and detoxifying hormones, including estrogen and progesterone. Now, the liver breaks down excess estrogen through very specific enzymatic pathways. So, if our liver's sluggish or if it's overwhelmed, those estrogen levels can stay elevated, leading to things like bloating, breast tenderness, mood swings. Our liver also processes environmental toxins, medications, alcohol, those types of things, which can also interfere with the hormone metabolism that should be happening in the body. So, an overburdened liver, one that has worked, that there's too many toxins for it to take care of effectively, can struggle to keep those hormone checks in level, worsening those symptoms. So, if there's an extra burden of environmental type toxins on our body. So those can come from things we're breathing, things that we're putting on our body, things we're eating even, right? Any of those kinds of chemical type things. If the liver is trying too hard to try to clear those, it can't even begin to work on the hormones. So poor liver function leads to increased inflammation in our body. And we all know what happens when the inflammation gets too high, right? Dis-ease. So it can intensify those PMS symptoms like cramping, fatigue, headaches, that kind of thing. Now, our liver stores and processes vitamins and minerals, which are essential for the production of hormones and for the balance of our hormones. So things like B vitamins, magnesium, zinc. So if we're deficient in those nutrients, and our liver is not functioning properly, we can really have some PMS problems. So it's kind of like the snowball effect, right? It just one compounds the other. And we definitely don't want that happening. So, what do we do about those cycle symptoms that we're having? Well, when our body has a difficult time responding to those changing hormonal environments, um, the transitioning of all of that, it creates physiological stress that can have a strong impact on a variety of organs and systems. So, like any other system under stress, the weakest parts are usually the first ones to break down. So, if we've already got an area of weakness in our body, that may be where we begin to see more symptoms. So, some questions to ask is, do we tend to get cravings? Do we experience nausea? Do we have changes in our bowels right before a period? If so, those are signs that our digestive system is on the weakened side. How about breast tenderness, headaches, irritability? Those tell us that the body's detox system isn't functioning properly. So it's not able to clear toxins and those hormones are left over. How about fatigue, trouble sleeping, feeling anxious? Those are important indicators that we're running low on resources in general and that our body is in desperate need of a boost and some extra support. So, all of this information is important for two specific reasons. First, by supporting and strengthening the body systems that are breaking down, we can get rid of those symptoms. And second, and maybe even more important than the first, is if we can strengthen those systems now before real chronic disease sets in, then we can live an all around happier, healthier life. And who doesn't want that, right? We all strive for that, or we wouldn't be on here tonight. So, cravings, nausea, digestive issues, um, those PMS symptoms will show us that the digestive system is in need of help. So, I don't know about you, but I didn't always correlate my hormones to gut health. Like they just didn't seem to go together. But in general, chronic gut inflammation can lead to intestinal permeability, which we would know as leaky gut. Everybody's heard of leaky gut, right? it worsens PMS symptoms like cravings and nausea. So if you're already dealing with that, then those symptoms are going to be magnified. So a great starting point to get rid of that inflammation and the leaky gut type things. Um, and everybody is a little bit different than everybody's a little different and will react a little bit differently. But an elimination diet is a good place to start. So looking for those triggers, right? So starting to take away some of those, I'm going to call them heavy hitters, those common things like inflammatory foods, dairy, grains, seed oils, things like that, right? Those are all good places to start. And then you just have to go from there to see how your body's reacting. Now, another really good option is a Ningxia Red reset. So that's a 14-day reset that includes moving our body, sufficient hydration, a very solid nutritional plan and there are multiple plans to choose from. They're already done. Who would love to have a 14-day recipe plan all made for you? Right? Isn't that one of the worst things about cooking is like coming up with what are we going to cook? It's not cooking it so much. It's like figuring out what we're going to have. Well, it's done for you. You choose the plan, the meal plan that you want. You go to the grocery store and you're good to go. But um, that's a really good way to combat inflammation. And it just gives the body, it's like the body can take a deep breath, right? And then just exhale. It's like, oh, that sigh. And that's what a reset does for us, just the quick side of it. Also, we have to support digestion with enzymes. None of us have sufficient digestive enzymes. None of us do. So, Essential Zyme 4 is a wonderful way to help the body pulling the vitamins and nutrients from the food we eat. Because I don't know if you know this, but if we don't have proper enzymes, even though we're eating good, healthy food, we may not be breaking that down and getting the nutrients out of it, which is really, really sad. So, enzymes with a meal are essential for good digestion. And then probiotics. So a daily probiotic is key because we want to keep the good flora of the gut in a healthy balance. So something like Life 9 or Mighty Pro are cornerstones for good gut flora. And then cleansing. A good colon cleanse is amazing. And when we're going to start cleansing, that is the place that we want to start. We need to start with the colon because if we start doing other things like the liver, we know that the liver needs some help. But if we jump in with the liver and the colon is not clear and open and everything is not moving out effectively, then we're going to cause more toxins to build up in the body. So that's a really effective way to begin to do that. So the cleansing trio with ICP, Essential Zyme, and Comfort Tone are my favorite ways to do a colon cleanse. Now, breast tenderness, the headaches, irritability, the worst trio, right, of PMS symptoms. These symptoms show us that we're having detox problems. Friends, so if our body is overwhelmed and weighed down by toxins, or if those detox pathways need to be cleared out for us to process and eliminate things, it's going to exasperate all of those symptoms, right? So, just to be clear, toxins aren't just the chemicals found in personal care and cleaning products, they're in our medications, like over the counter things, prescriptions, alcohol, foods, even water, the environment. So we get exposed to things everywhere all the time. So this means that clearing and supporting detox pathways is crucial for health in general, but especially when we're experiencing those symptoms. So some ways to do that: liver support. The best daily supports are Juva products from Young Living. So things like Juvatone, Juva Cleanse capsules, one of the two of those, Juva Power, perfect way to detoxify the liver and provide it some support because the liver needs good nutrients too, right? Just like every other organ in the body. Also, castor oil packs are amazing. Add some Juva Cleanse oil with that castor oil pack and just apply it right topically over the liver area. If you don't know where that is, go to the right side to your rib cage. So go right below the rib cage to like the hip bone. That is the area where the liver gallbladder are. So you can easily put a castor oil pack there. And then lymphatic support. So the lymph system is a one-way fluid movement circuit, you guys. So it goes through the entire body, and its job is to eliminate waste and toxins. So the more we move our body, the better that the lymphatic system is going to work because it doesn't have a pump. So we have to make sure it's working. Dry brushing, using some citrus oils along with dry brushing is a wonderful way to support daily. It's an easy thing to do, maybe before you get in the shower, right after you get out of the shower, depends on, you and the way you want to do it. But try doing that with some cypress and grapefruit. Those two oils are amazing to help move that fluid in the body. Also, just jumping, gentle jumping. So like 100 times, if you just get up in the morning and you just jump, just gently jumping. If you have a rebounder, it's amazing. A rebounder is one of the best things to move lymph fluid. Tangerine and lemon oils are also really good in ingesting them and also putting them on the areas of the body where those lymph nodes are. So cleansing the blood, that is extremely important. So we can grab a bottle of Rahemagen. Right now, that is not available in stock, unfortunately. We keep our fingers crossed that we can get all of the, they can source all of the ingredients so that we can have that back. That is one downside of having like the most amazing clean products available to us is sometimes getting all the raw materials is not easy. And other companies don't care as much. And so they often don't run out of things. So while we hate being without something, there's a good reason for it. So meanwhile, for me, the two things that I like to do for my blood are longevity, and you can get it in just oil, or you can get capsules, and red cedar bliss. Both of those are really good to help cleanse the blood. So it's not uncommon to feel tired, to feel under the weather, or just off during certain points of our cycle, right? We've all experienced that. Now, these feelings are often linked to the natural hormonal fluctuations that influence the immune system, that also influence our energy levels and just our overall well-being. So while occasional fatigue and feeling a bit run down can be okay, um, we need to be careful that that doesn't become all the time, right? If we start to feel that way all the time, then we've got a problem and we need to deal with it. So one of the best places, again, to start is with supporting the liver. The liver is cleansing the blood and helping to move everything through the body and all of that. So if we're deficient in nutrients, also that will affect it. So it would be like putting water in our gas tank of our car and expecting the car to run, right? If we don't have the proper nutrients in our body, how in the world do we think that our body can do what it needs to do? So there are some common ones that often people are deficient in, especially women. And one of those is just antioxidants. We are exposed to so many toxins, so many free radicals that our body can get overwhelmed really quick. So one of the first things that we can do is Ningxia Red. It's really an easy button to get good nutrients into the body and get some good antioxidants. So it's literally a superfood made from the entire wolfberry. So it's not a juice, it's the puree from the wolfberry. So that means we've got all the proteins, we've got all the amino acids, all the vitamins, minerals, everything. So it's amazing, not just to help with our energy levels and to help reduce the antioxidant, or to reduce the oxidation in our body, but it's great for our hair and our skin. Helps to there have been some studies done that show that it helps to decrease stress, helps us to get better sleep, and so many more things. Now, for women, so many women are deficient in B vitamins. I have my own thoughts. I'm not exactly sure scientifically why that is, but a lot of women are deficient in B vitamins. So we've got to have enough B vitamins or our energy levels will be in the toilet. Also, B vitamins have a lot of influence over our hormones. Now, remember, B vitamins are water soluble. What does that mean? It means that the body doesn't store them. We have to replenish them every day. So we have to supplement with them. Like, it's pretty much impossible today to get them all that we need in our diet. And remember this, friends, stress causes a body to use more B vitamins than anything else. So if you've got a lot of stress, you definitely want to increase that. Then magnesium. So we have super magnesium. Magnesium is essential for over 300 reactions within our body, including energy production, muscle contraction. So think about how that affects us throughout our cycle. It helps with physical stress on the body and it improves our sleep. So that is just a no-brainer. And a lot of people actually find that taking it at night before they go to bed, they rest better. And remember, the body's kind of regenerating and doing some cleansing and that kind of thing. So that is really a good time to do that. We often don't get enough sleep, right? Our sleep is disrupted. So deep night essence can be very helpful when we're not resting well. So it's an easy go-to. It's melatonin free, and it's safe. So it's safe for long-term use, and it can help you to fall asleep. Now, I am going to toss this caveat. This is my own experience. I personally have found my sweet spot with this is 2 capsules before I go to bed. That's me. That's what works for me. I have some friends who find taking it during the day helps them to sleep at night. So while that may sound strange, it still is providing the body with what it needs so that by the time we're ready to go to bed, we can actually rest. So you may have to play with some things to figure out when and where and how much. You can muscle test it. Britta did a great class a few nights ago on muscle testing. So if you muscle test, do that. That's another great way to know. Foods. So I don't know, do you ever think about foods affecting your cycle? They do. They actually do. So they can affect literally every part of our health, as well as our cycle, mental, physical, emotional. And the cycle is just, our cycle is no different. So we want to think about things like caffeine. So, sometimes getting up is hard enough. But then when we're on our cycle and maybe we're having PMS and things like that, it's even harder, right? The motivation is really gone. We just feel tired. We're in pain. But caffeine, you guys, causes our blood vessels to constrict. And that includes the ones that supply blood to the uterus. So that can make cramps even stronger. So caffeine is not your friend when you're dealing with that kind of thing. It can also increase irritability. And that's the last thing we want if we're already in that cycle of having PMS and stuff like that. Alcohol. So again, when it comes to our period, drinking alcohol can intensify those symptoms. So it inhibits hormone regulation. So it can intensify cramping, PMS, irritability, all those things that we actually are trying to get away from. It can intensify. It also slows down how fast our stomach empties. So it can increase bloating, which when we're already feeling icky, we don't want any more of that, right? And it's dehydrating to us. So it can cause us to retain more fluid, and then we can end up not even just with PMS, but a hangover maybe. So we want to stay away from alcohol. And then refined salt. I'm just going to say this, you guys, none of us should be eating refined salt ever. That just should not be a part of our life. Because salt, like refined salt, exasperates bloating, it increases water retention, all those things. It's not good for us. So I'm going to suggest to you that you either use Celtic or Celtic, depending on how you say it. I don't know what's the correct pronunciation. I hear it both ways, or Redmond. Both are very beneficial in providing electrolytes. They have real minerals in them and they're healthy for us. So there's so much misinformation out there about sodium and potassium and all the electrolytes and salt and all the things. So no refined salt. We're going to use Redmond or Celtic salt, okay? Because that will actually help us to utilize the water effectively in our tissues so that we're not retaining water and we're not dehydrated. Then there's the sugar and refined carbs, all inflammatory. We talked about inflammatory foods before. So they can also, that inflammation can intensify the symptoms. So we want to avoid those as much as absolutely possible. They can also contribute to fatigue and bloating. They can impact our estrogen level testosterone and our serotonin. And when our serotonin levels off, we're not happy. We're just not happy campers. So we don't want that happening. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding those things. Also, the blood sugar regulation. When we're having the refined carbs and sugar, our blood sugar's all over the place. It's where, it's up and it's down. And when it moves like that, we don't feel good. It makes us crabby. So I don't want to be just the bearer of bad news. There are some healing foods that legitimately can help the body during, our cycle. And one of those is avocados. So they're great to satisfy those fat cravings, because often we get funky cravings, right? But in a good way. So it also avocados contain a lot of potassium, more than a banana even, which can help reduce the cramping. Going back to those electrolytes, right? And then dark chocolate. What woman doesn't want to hear that dark chocolate is good for her, right? So yes, dark chocolate, but it needs to be dark chocolate. And honestly, the darker, the better. Of course, in moderation, but it contains magnesium. So that's also helpful in decreasing cramping, and it's helpful to increase our overall well-being. Magnesium, when we have enough magnesium, we just feel better. We're just happier. And it helps the body to release serotonin, which we need to be happy, to feel happy. So I thought I would share with you this recipe. So I don't know if you want to maybe take a screenshot or something of it. But it's an avocado chocolate mousse. So it's 2 large avocados just chopped up, a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can use another sweetener if you want. Just stay away from like refined sugar, and that kind of thing. 1/3 of the cup of coconut cream. So think about the creaminess of this with that coconut cream and the avocados, you guys. Oh, and then a cup of chocolate, dark chocolate, melted and cooled. So then put that all in a food processor and just mix it together. Just blend it up and then keep it in the refrigerator. Let it sit in the refrigerator for 30 minutes or so. And, so it gets like a little solid and it's cool. Keep it in the fridge. It lasts for 3 or 4 days. It is so yummy. Okay, movement. We have to talk about movement. So the type and the amount of movement that we do can influence our menstrual cycle by impacting our hormones, our energy levels, and just overall balance. So regular exercise is good for reducing those symptoms that we keep talking about, improving our mood, and regulating our cycle. But here's the but. Overtraining or intense workouts without proper recovery can cause disruption in our hormones. So we hear sometimes of women, of athletes usually, and they're working out so hard that their cycles just stop. They don't even have a cycle because the hormones are they're so out of balance because their body is out of balance. They're working so hard and they're not giving the proper rest and sometimes the proper nutrients to support all of that extra energy that they're exerting with the exercise. So in general, regular movement can help reduce all of the symptoms, all of it. It can help support hormonal balance. So things like walking and yoga, things like that, that will lower our stress levels. So if we're feeling really stressed. But the key is to align our activity with the energy level throughout our cycle. Rest when we need it and move in the ways that make our body feel good. So in general, here's some guidelines. Week 1, we should be avoiding strenuous exercise and instead opting for stretching, yoga, walking, that type of thing. Week 2, we need to use this week for the strenuous exercise or other physical activities that we enjoy. So it's kind of like, okay, if you're one of those people that does the more intense, this is your week to do that. And then in week 3, again, whatever your energy level typically is going to be the highest during this week. So whatever your energy level supports, that's what you can do. Now, when we move into week 4, that's more of a restorative type week. And so that looks like yoga, massage, acupuncture, self-care. I think about that as being more self-care. So just remember that as the body's changing and moving through these different cycles, as we pay attention and our movement and our exercise level acts accordingly, we're going to just feel better. If our cycle is sort of like a stress test for the body, you remember how I mentioned that early on? Then when our body is strained, those weaker systems are going to feel it first. That's where we're going to notice it. So the bigger deficit would be in those systems. And the worse our symptoms become, the more systems are going to be affected. So it's going to again have that snowball effect. So we want to really pay attention. So there's some things that we can do to reduce our stress, right? Rest. How many of you are really good at resting? How many of you are really good at self-care? We need to be better at that, ladies. Most of us really need to be better at that and be more focused on that. Prayer, meditation, journaling, all of these things can be extremely helpful for us. So whatever it is that you find restorative, that's what you need to make sure you're incorporating. Did you know that we have a feelings kit? It's got 7 amazing oils in it. So they're so good for the emotional part of our brain, calming down the nervous system, releasing emotions that don't serve us, those kinds of things. That is something that I recommend everyone do every 6 months at least. And if we're really high stressed, we may need to do that for multiple months in a row, and there's a whole protocol where we can do that for 30 days at a time. And it's so effective. Stress away in and of itself, just think about the name. It's literally like a vacation in a bottle. It's like it has this aroma that just reminds me of a spa. So putting that on like perfume, even like I love wearing it like I would, over pulse points and things like that. Putting it in a bath with Epsom salt is so great. Having a diffuser, you guys, we have this cool, I don't know if anybody can see me on this, but we have this cool new travel diffuser and it's great in the car. So make sure you've got one in your car, especially if you're driving kids to and from activities and school, or maybe you're commuting to work, all these things. And we're on the road and, crazy drivers and all the stuff. Put those oils in there because it will definitely have an effect on our stress level. Frankincense is literally our best friend when it comes to stress. It's wonderful to use when we're doing our meditation, prayer, yoga, any of those other things that we're doing, but it's great just to put on and just sit down and close our eyes for 5 minutes and rest. And then peace and calming. It's one of my favorites. It's like an instant chill pill. Like it's just got that effect. So it calms the mind and those racing thoughts. So if we're feeling anxious, we're feeling like we're wound up, think we're really wound tight, that can be a really good one to calm us down and just get those emotions back in check. So while it seems like our hormones are running the show, there are some other things that we can do, serums, creams, blends, all the supplements, all the different things that are really effective. So let's take a look at what some of those are. Endoflex is absolutely amazing. So it's like a personal trainer for our endocrine system. Healthy thyroid function, hormone balance, healthy metabolism, adrenal health, all of it. Getting this oil on topically over the thyroid, over the adrenals is amazing. Using the Vitality, dropping it under your tongue, putting it in capsules, putting it in your Ningxia, amazing. All great ways to get this oil in and on the body. Progestins Plus. I really believe that if every woman, a girl, not even a woman, when they start their cycle, when a girl starts cycling, if she began to use Endoflex and Progestins Plus, she would eliminate and avoid so many of these hiccups that a lot of us have experienced along the way. So keep that in mind for the younger women, the girls in your lives, to share those two products right there. Transformational. We need to have a balance of estrogen and progesterone. So we often have more estrogen, not natural estrogen that our body makes, but phytoestrogen or xenoestrogen, a false estrogen in our body because so many toxins, you know, phthalates and parabens, and a lot of things disrupt our endocrine system, and they act in the body like they're estrogen. So they're a false estrogen, and it elevates then our body thinking that we've got too much estrogen when really it's a level of too high of toxins. But if we can't keep our estrogen and our progesterone level balanced, really bad things can happen. So we have to have enough progesterone, and we don't talk about that enough. So I think that we need to just all really be mindful. Even if we're being told or given something um, that's just estrogen, never only take, if you choose to do something synthetic, which is contrary to the way our body works. I'm just going to say it's the, you know, the energy of something synthetic flows the opposite direction of the natural flow of our human body. So it's always going to create chaos, even if it covers up some symptoms. It's going to create chaos in the long run. We have to balance that out as best we can with progesterone. Please hear me. If you don't hear anything else from what I said tonight, please hear that. Regenolone cream is absolutely phenomenal. So it's a moisturizing cream. It's got plant botanicals, minerals, vitamins, and a special blend of oils to help balance hormones. So ladies, this can be a really, really nice one. So much of the time when we move more toward perimenopause and menopause, we start to have some tendon joint issues. I had almost 2 years of I could not lift one of my arms up over my head. And I didn't know until I was well into that it was a hormonal imbalance. And oh, I wish I would have known earlier, because Regenolone would have been my best friend. So doing double duty on that shoulder. But that's a common thing, unfortunately. Themagen, hands down, all different seasons of life, all the way from childbearing, menopause, and beyond. Themagen is great to support the female reproductive system and the hormonal system. So it's typically a twice daily supplement. We take them a couple of times a day. You can muscle test whether you need 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. But it's got whole food herbs. It's got wild yam, daviana, Don Quai, amino acids, clary sage, fennel, lang lang, sage in essential oils. So it's really great to help keep estrogen balanced and maintain and nourish the reproductive system. Again, all the way from development through menopause and beyond. I cannot praise this one enough. I would be remiss if I did not tell you this as we wrap up this evening. We can do all kinds of things for our body. We can deal with symptoms and stressors and all the things, but if we don't have a good foundation to build on, the body cannot function optimally, and the body will never, ever be in a position to heal itself. So we want to make sure that we are doing foundational things. So I'm going to share with you 3 of my very favorite products to do that. And I believe that if we all use these products, our bodies would be in such better condition to function and to heal themselves. So Ningxia Red, we've talked about it already tonight, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Master Formula, though, is all the nutrients. So you may be thinking, well, I don't know if I need, you know, something like that, a multivitamin. It is so far beyond a multivitamin, friends. It is plant-based nutrients. And it's got a synergistic delivery system. It's got some essential oils in it. And when oils are infused into the supplements, it greatly increases our absorption, our usability of them, so that they're not flushing through our system and not getting anything out of them. But I've seen some amazing things in my own body and other people that I love when we've incorporated Master Formula, Ningxia Red, and then Mineral Essence, because the majority of people are deficient in minerals. So we have to keep those minerals in our body because literally every cell, every function of the body requires minerals. So getting those minerals in is hands down one of the most important things for us to do. So I'm going to challenge all of you to do these three things continually. And if master formula, you go, I have to try to figure out like, how do I fit this in my budget? Very good. Fine. Take master formula every other day. You can probably toss almost every other vitamin that you're taking because we get a lot of individual things, right? We buy a D and we buy a C and we buy an E and we buy zinc and we buy B's. Well, they're all in there. So you can probably toss most anything else that you're taking and use that. And that will make up any difference in cost that there might be. So that's one of my challenges for you tonight. We're going to tell everyone about Endoflex and Progestins Plus, and we're all going to use these three to give our body the real fighting chance that it deserves. So I'm really glad that you guys joined tonight. If you are new and you're a guest, grab the referral link from whoever invited you. Get with them because they will connect you to this amazing, phenomenal community that we have here. They'll help you grab the products you want. They're going to explain to you how amazing loyalty rewards is. Just trust them and trust me, that's how you want to purchase your products. ShareYL is a code that you can use on your very first order for 10% off, in addition to the discount that you're going to get as you set up your Young Living account. And then just keep learning, keep coming back, because we have tons and tons of information and resources. Next week, our class is going to be on the gut and lymphatics. So we're going to take a deep dive into those two things. So it will be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I appreciate everybody being on here tonight and showing up. We hope that it was